Hello and welcome back. In this original blackexcellist presentation, we will highlight Marshall Major Taylor, cyclist champion and global icon.
Welcome to blackexcellist.com, the site where we share Black excellence, opulence, and affluence. Our mission is to inspire you as we enlighten you.
Defying all odds, Marshall Major Taylor became a cycling legend and one of the first superstars of the sport, setting numerous world records and winning a world championship and multiple national championships, all while battling racism throughout his career from the late 1800s to early 1900s. He was an international superstar whose superhuman exploits were as well known in his era as LeBron James or Michael Jordan are today. In this original Black Excellist presentation, we will highlight Major Taylor, the global superstar cyclist. The son of a Civil War veteran, Marshall Walter Taylor was born in rural Bucktown, Indiana, November 26, 1878. Born into poverty, he was one of 8 children. His father, Gilbert, was the son of a Kentucky slave and fought for the Union in the Civil War. As a child, Marshall would accompany his father, who worked in nearby Indianapolis, as he drove the coach for the Southard family, a well-to-do family. Helping his father exercise some of the horses, Marshall befriended Dan Southard, the young son of his employers. When he was 8 years old, he eventually moved in with the Southard family, who adopted him into their home, where he was educated by private tutors and virtually lived the same life of privilege as his friend Dan. However, this period of his life abruptly ended when the Southards moved to Chicago, Illinois. Taylor, who remained in Indianapolis, immediately returned to an impoverished life with his parents as a young black poor kid. Aside from the education, the Southards provided Taylor with something that would change his life forever: a bicycle. In the early 1890s, America was experiencing a big bicycle boom. With the bike, the young man was soon earning money as a paper boy, delivering newspapers and riding barefoot for miles a day. In his spare time, Taylor practiced tricks that caught the attention of someone at the local bicycle shop. In 1891, the owner of a local bike shop hired Marshall to drum up business by performing stunts and trick mounts in front of the store. He would do so in a military uniform, which earned him the nickname Major. To further promote the store, in 1892, one of the shop's owners entered Taylor in a 10-mile amateur bicycle race, something the cyclist had never seen before. The owners actually did not expect him to go the full distance and simply wanted him to just ride up the road a little bit, just enough to please the crowd. However, this would be the day that Major's unprecedented career in bicycle racing would begin. At the crack of the starter's pistol, Major pushed his legs beyond anything he'd imagined himself capable of doing and finished 6 seconds ahead of anyone else. With the gold medal pinned to his chest, Major envisioned himself competing in more races and would do so across the Midwest at the young age of 13. 3 years later, on June 30th, 1895, Major Taylor won his first significant cycling competition. It was a grueling 75-mile road race near his hometown of Indianapolis, and he was the only cyclist to complete the course. During the race, Taylor received threats from his white competitors, who did not know that he had entered the event until the start of the race. A few days later that same summer, on July 4th, Taylor won a 10-mile road race in Indianapolis that made him eligible to compete at the national championships for black racers in Chicago. He won the Chicago Championship race by 10 bike lengths and set a new record for Negro cyclists. Taylor's cycling prowess even earned him a notice in the New York Times on September 26, 1895, as a competitor in the Citizen Handicap event, a 10-mile race on Ocean Parkway in Brooklyn, New York. In the meantime, Major would take a job as head trainer at another local Indianapolis bicycle shop, teaching and giving riding lessons to local residents. While working here in August 1896, the young teen had a chance meeting with former high-wheel bicycle racer Louis D. Bertie Munger. Munger owned the Munger Cycle Manufacturing Company, a racing bicycle factory there in Indianapolis. With a shared interest in bicycle racing, the two became very good friends, and Munger hired the talented Taylor to work for his company. Therefore, when Munger relocated his bicycle factory to Worcester, Massachusetts, Major decided that he would move as well. Worcester, Massachusetts was regarded as the late 19th century home of the American bicycle industry. When Taylor moved there, the town had a half-dozen manufacturers and over 30 bike shops. The move to the Northeast brought greater opportunities, more race events, and higher visibility. As part of his job responsibilities for the Worcester Cycle Manufacturing Company, Taylor was sent to visit area high schools and colleges in Massachusetts to train cyclists and promote the Munger's line of racing bicycles. Simultaneously, Munger coached and mentored Taylor and saw in him the potential of a great racer. Taylor proved to be a powerful sprinter, and Munger helped enter him into numerous races, not only in his home state of Massachusetts, but also New Jersey and Connecticut. In 1896, at the age of 18, Taylor turned professional and soon emerged as the most formidable racer in America. He was racing professionally on the world stage, on both road and track races, covering distances from a quarter-mile to 2-mile races. By 1899, Taylor was building a reputation as a fierce competitor and a young champion in these very early years of his professional racing career. Newspapers began referring to him as the Black Cyclone, Worcester Whirlwind, and the Ebony Flyer. He also gained wide notoriety among both black and white fans alike. One of his biggest supporters was President Theodore Roosevelt, who kept track of Taylor throughout his 17-year racing career. Major was living in Massachusetts when his mother died in 1898, which led Taylor to seek baptism and become a devoted member of the church. Due to his religious convictions, he did not compete on Sundays and was known to carry around a Bible to his events. While Taylor enjoyed new fame and popularity, Taylor also encountered tremendous racial prejudice that would shadow him throughout his entire racing career. Although some white race event promoters allowed him to compete in trick riding competitions and races, many of them rejected him. Not only did they refuse to allow him to race, oftentimes he was even banned from their tracks. His fellow white cyclists were even less receptive of the young black phenom and refused to compete if Taylor was entered into the race. There were countless incidents of white cyclists resorting to intimidation, verbal insults, threats of physical harm, and even death threats. At the conclusion of one 1897 Massachusetts race that he won, the second-place winner tackled Taylor on the racetrack and choked him into unconsciousness. While competing in Australia, he was seriously injured on the final turn when a fellow competitor deliberately collided with his front wheel, seriously injuring Taylor to the point where he was hospitalized. Not to mention the racism he experienced at the hands of fans. Not only were there racial slurs and death threats, fans would also go the length of throwing nails and water in the path of his wheels in the midst of races. And when he did enter races and ultimately won, he was not always awarded first place and/or his track record was not recognized. It was abundantly clear to Taylor and his advisors that he would be better off racing in Canada and Europe, where some of the strongest riders in the world were competing and where a black athlete could ride with less fear of racially motivated violence. After 3 years of racing across the United States in various events, Taylor traveled to Montreal, Canada for the World Track Championships, where he won the 1-mile and 2-mile sprints and became the first African American to win a world championship in cycling. He accumulated 22 first-place finishes in a wide range of events, and his fame soared internationally as fans flocked to see the fastest man on earth. Taylor would go on to win the American Sprint Championship on points in year 1900. He also beat Tom Cooper, a champion, as well as his most notable rival, in a special head-to-head exhibition race at Madison Square Garden in front of over 50,000 spectators. Major Taylor continued to wow crowds and dazzle spectators, consistently setting world records in the half-mile and two-thirds mile sprints. Following his record-setting success in the US and Canada, Taylor agreed to a European tour in 1901 and 1902, and Taylor was very popular among the European race fans and news reporters, making him the modern era's first globally recognized athlete. In 1901, Taylor won 42 of the 57 European races he entered. In 1902, he won 40 of the 57 races that he competed in, defeating all of the champions of Germany, England, and France. In addition to racing in Europe, Taylor also competed in Australia and New Zealand in 1903 and 1904, further cementing his reputation as the fastest cyclist in the world. And Taylor would make a fortune. His prize money and appearance fees were unparalleled. During his world tour in 1903, Taylor earned prize money estimated at $35,000, which is well over $1 million in today's terms. Taylor raced for the rest of the decade, reportedly earning an equivalent of almost $1 million a year, making him one of the wealthiest athletes of his day, black or white. But with the advent of the automobile, interest in cycling began to wane. Taylor, feeling the effects of age on his legs, retired in 1910 at age 32. In his autobiography, he also cited the mental strain of battling racism in competitive cycling as one reason for his retirement. Despite his racing success and countless achievements, he was forced into poverty in his later years. A string of bad investments, coupled with the Wall Street crash in 1929, wiped out all of his earnings. His marriage crumbled, and he became sickly. After 6 years of writing his autobiography, The Fastest Bicycle Rider in the World, that he self-published in 1929, Major spent the last years of his life selling his book door-to-door in Chicago. Unfortunately, Marshall Major Taylor died of a heart attack in Chicago in 1932 at the age of 53. His body lay unclaimed in a morgue, and he was buried in a pauper's grave at the Mount Glenwood Cemetery in Chicago. Years later, when former racing stars learned of Major Taylor's gravesite, they persuaded Frank Schwinn, owner of the Schwinn Bicycle Company, to pay to have Taylor's remains exhumed and transferred to a more fitting location at the Memorial Garden of the Good Shepherd. In recent years, efforts have been made to revive Taylor's story and introduce it to younger generations. In addition to the Major Taylor program at Cascade Bicycle Club, Taylor's name is now celebrated with several memorials and historic markers. The Major Taylor Velodrome in Indianapolis and Major Taylor Boulevard in Worcester, Massachusetts are examples of these tributes. Today, Marshall Major Taylor's story is a testament to the power of his determination and character. In the face of violence, racism, and prejudice, he would become one of the most dominant athletes of his era. Taylor's story has also been celebrated in film, including a recent ESPN short film, The 6-Day Race, the story of Marshall Major Taylor. The film underscores Taylor's plight and demonstrates that its power lies in what he overcame in his rise to success. He persevered against all odds, paving the way for generations. It's a life and a cause worth remembering and celebrating.
We appreciate the fact that you stayed with us until the end. Thank you for spending time with us, and don't forget to like this video. Also, make sure you subscribe so that you never miss a video. Bye for now. We will see you tomorrow.